testle changlo ratio analysis nongla khati nang ju ti chang de ro ratio analysis nongla solvency ratio chang de re solvency ratio nongla debt to equity chawre the next thing ju ti chang na total asset to debt ro total asset to debt che yamen antijela this junction proprietary ratio in junction the total asset to debt la du sambala ti koran on la formula dikhalna total asset to debt so total asset to debt the koran ji thenda di ha ko na ngazu formula di chwe to formula di khar do total asset to debt so total asset la du sambala kharre ti ha ko re andijela debt la du sambala khari re odi ha ko ro dinya lo ju debt to equity nong la ju debt la na kharim batin ju ha ko cha twa debt la ju sambala non current liability la ro total asset la ju sambala total of the asset total of the liability so balance sheet is total the law so basically dina ganju khata ha ko try chu la na balance sheet dos to chu ro liability che asset dos che total asset khare de la ro total asset so the asset total of asset the nanglo ne non current liability the khajureshas kujuda total of asset amena non current liability the total asset ni compared to the sambala total asset khaju imang du laurwa ngoti dochi kujuda so the current liability re tela shareholders fund do shirwa so dina khar share try chu go la na also total asset total liability khala ni kya ta asset ni compare chu kim je khala na total asset the total liability ni ga chik parwa total of balance sheet is equal lo khati ne chik parwa chipo in sambala liability changma khara asset chigi di chi sha ta back chi sha back la sambala kola rogo chi de ta kola ten de ba kesi liability chik pe che go chona khande steel na asset chi chong so basically ngjo ji total asset kumo gya impression na ti asset kumo gya nang lo ne ti changma chik liability chik jil tha go ta ti ba yamena jinda din zo ji pe share yamena chulo mi ji pe share yamena current liability din zo ji pe share ba so ngjo khare ha ku ni thugo la na so ti kumo gya de nang lo ne chulo mi la te go ki pesha di khazure shas asset na ne chulo mi la ta gi asset khazure shas na di ta so chung se the asset liability kharla na mala na ge the asset changma wa asset total of asset changma su ga jire company ga jire royal na ya ko chinta di sambal khala na di changma maung pa chinta la te ko non current liability te ko current liability te ko kyang re so nga jo di khare total di nanglo ne non current liability nembol compare cher wa emena non current liability debt nemdola the total asset the compared to sambala khajue gi mang to lerwa over the try so jong se debt to sorry total asset to debt ratio la to sambala dus se wa that the total asset to debt the yawo jang gi chedura ko ya tre chudu the question chita tagi ra on the basis of following information calculate total asset to debt ratio ra so also formula de ha ko re total asset divided by debt ra total asset to debt ka ratio formula de so total asset ha ko gi chetu thanda the item take no ne asset khar ratio ti ha wona ti go ra di samotom na the balance sheet na thambor na already total te na ta no semde or min do ra ne thanda de ngalo item te sha anti nanglo ne ngjo asset ngo shem bache anti samotom divided by non current liability tin surwa non current liability samotom suna ngjo let debt so let's say capital employed asset value na mare ra current liability mare land and building royal na re trade receivable total asset na chugor velna asset na chugor cash and cash equivalent asset velna asset ro investment ro investment trade asset na chugor velna chugor ro share capital asset velna mare debenture asset velna mare general reserve asset velna mare surplus ro surplus मतलब profit लो रो और the asset velna mare so basically जो asset खर करे तो land and building 60 lakh छे दिगाला trade receivable 4 lakh छे दिगाला cash and cash equivalent 5 lakh छे दिगाला investment 1 lakh रो divided by खरे लेना divided by debt non-current liability let's find out non-current liabilities रो capital employed non-current liability rwes lena rwe capital employed non-current liability rwe lena mare ro mare current liability mare ro din sangma asset che next share capital non-current liability rwe lena mare chidana non-current re but thada dela azu di chi me ro chinda shareholders fund chu sambala azu chi me so debenture non-current liability rwe lena re general reserve non-current liability real and mare shareholders fund profit and loss profit non-current liability real na mare so basically ngazul ching mod mindu odi kharla na 10 lakh 10% debenture tedish so 10 the 5 che 10 and 70 70 lakh to total of asset is 70 lakh divided by 10 lakh 10 lakh so someone cancel down so your ratio is 7 divided by 1 raw so which means 7 is to 1 goji ratio shas so shows total asset to total debt goji ratio the 7 is to 1 ratios tadi ladang hane do chirta kissing on the debt the 1 in a total total asset the total of liability khajur to lena 7 ratios tadi jama question cher sample on the bent over the law so kisi kara total asset draw or china penetration ta total asset 70 lakh do china in this case raw dikhare जो question na le total asset 70 lakh raise le and total asset to debt ke ratio dikhajure le 7 is to 1 re do lana 7 is to 1 re la rishina ngazu chego chirta ngazu debt chego kesi re balance sheet suye gi chudwa so khajure le na so 7 ere na 70 lakh dirwa 7 na 1 dikhajure is kuchda 1 did say so cross multiply cheese 70 lakh divided by 7 so khachas 10 lakh chaso do shin cheu ki de chela do jo dus in the cheu ki de oh yeah okay now let's see one more question the question says shareholders fund 1 lakh 60 total debt is 3 lakh 60,000 current liability is 40,000 and calculate total asset to debt always total asset to debt ratio let's suppose min khora nan lakhala sa total asset to debt diga ratio la shira so on the formula how go wa the next thing so how go khare is let's suppose khatu in gerwa total shareholders fund na jo ha ko ra total debt lana khala ko re total debt means total debt la sambala current liability plus non current liability din ni kan to dom la horta so debt down total debt ni this khagare ro total debt now la debt chu de re ya balance sheet chu too much situation na the balance sheet those to you re she na so liability asset che column ni thing ro so that you can understand it better ta chamba get la Alright, Tiwana khate do shareholders fund. So shareholders fund khazure 1,60,000 share. Total debt. Please look. Total debt lana khazur to 3,60,000. Tadi aku china haku washelo. Total debt la du sambala di nanglo la khar khar chudio lana non current liability. Yamena debt tang current liability. Tini ka chudio res. Siwchong suwe. Total debt na khar chudio re. Debt, which means non current liability. Ti kaan la khar chudio sa. Current liability. So current liability khajuto onto in the question it says 40. 40 di now chudu rela word total debt let symbol. So 40 di out of 3 like 60, 40 di current liability na non current khajure. Dwa. How goes khajure 3 like 20,000. That this question na digas lela chart utalo. Alright. So digas total di khajure 3 4 like 5 like 20,000. दिखा रहा है 5,20,000 दिखा रहा है total assets तो simple charge tata tadi ni khachere kinsula formula ngado ju mogo wa thone chidang jura conception urelete o dirta now see ni ma thangbo di khora kinsula formula important formula na khala re total asset is equal to shareholders fund plus total debt lanchila new chambadu so dirang da total asset is equal to shareholders fund plus the domna dire da total asset ro so this question na ro concept dishin suna ani the formula dinga to ju go yo mare ro ju thuna kya min tu tak chi ran dangshen gi dale ban le yong ro anyway it doesn't matter tang zo lo go de khara total asset do shi suna ra ta ne di ngazo jela balance sheet ne suin ne solve shi shana peje gyaja gangza ra mo ta ro so khachi wala na ngazo ti che wo shi de ro di chi shi na di to di portion di chi shi na formula share ni share so shareholders fund plus total debt is equal to total asset so dina shi so we want to find out total assets shareholders fund khajure 1,60,000 share total debt khajure 3,60,000 so total asset is equal to the niam to tamna 5,20,000 this are 5,20,000 so we have our total asset the total asset is 5,20,000 taw ngazul khar ko re debt ra yang thagi na shi ra kisi di balance sheet di swe tu yu na ngazul debt already ra sar da the balance sheet di swe tu na debt already ra sar ina ngazul ta formula number go de sambala debt khades se wala na total debt minus current liability total debt dirwa 3,60,000 so 3,60,000 minus current liability is 40,000 so khajure that is equal to 3,20,000 so that is equal to 3,20,000 so 3,20,000 so divide down so na 5,20,000 divided by 3,20,000 1.625 1.625 is to that in the 1.63 is to 1 this are so also the ratio khare 1.63 is to 1 okay the next topic proprietary 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 lana TRY ratio ra proprietary ratio la sambala khala ores proprietor la sure proprietor la sambala who is a proprietor 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 la na jinda la orwa jinda la na owner ra proprietor la na owner ge ratio la orta ra the balance sheet tan hago try china. So we have liability on the left side, asset on the right side, and the shareholders fund, non-current liability, current liability, total of asset, again fixed asset, non-current asset, current assets, total assets. That is our balance sheet form the into sambala ratio into sambala balance sheet sudan chikta shang wo yo chira the game bachish ngapchu nishu sumchu ya the ngapchu in bachish ra tata tanda dil kharjang de proprietary ratio is sambala chinda din zo ratio now din on chinda din zo ratio khandi in batu ra chinda law the thangbu khartong to chinda law the khartong to shareholders fund 통고 이요르다 통고 민두나 진다 상마 데데데라 라 ina kharere capital yure reserve and surplus use ire ra capital knowledge equity share capital preference share capital use ire so jinda de zoji ratio jinda de zula ta khala gore ti kumu kya ina rupees kumu kya ina ti kumu kya nanglo ne jinda de zoji pesha khazure shas lawanashi ra taji de kharjang ra nzo total asset to debt jang ra tena stande de la hala ro nzo kumu kya din nang lo ne jinda din zo shi khazure shas pesha so khazur do ngapchur do so odi rang re ngapchu la de sambala ta kya ne khazura re kiral kya ne ngapchur res so ma pop suna cha suna khazur 0.5 is to 1 ratio na pop suna ra kuchuda 0.1 sorry 0.5 is to 1 so dina khachi der le na jogi shareholders fund divided by total asset 7 shire ra ina ngazo shareholders fund ming shamba ta shana ra khana na kodu khala sha proprietary ratio la ta so ngazo khala le na dila proprietors fund lagi shareholders fund la sab tunda chikba chi kya ra so the concept the go through suna proprietary ratio shamba do chire ra let's write the formula ratio so the khati is a shareholders fund ra proprietors chinda de zochi fund divided by kharta ilaso total asset this one tada from the following information calculate proprietary ratio lashara again balance sheet nanglo wach item de ngoshen go yure wa ti nangne chinta de zoch khar re tus ti ha ko wa so equity and liability nangla this portion ti khar shareholders fund wa ti rang proprietors fund this one so thanda de lang jo seo petesha jamate mena share capital reserve and surplus profit and loss and any other surplus any other reserve this one khalo na proprietors fund this one total of asset let's say tilana to go total of asset total of liability doesn't matter in the total liability let sambala ratio analysis now latis to the your do share ta so ngajo this samal khalena na total asset la wata asset digas yo la wa liability khazu yo na asset yo la ora so digi total of asset let sambala the total tele nata sasa ne ra chawa den ring budo chu ne ke balance sheet digas ring butte ne ke chala item mo shena namsal sa charu da so let's write ra proprietary ratio is equal to proprietors fund divided by total assets. This all. So proprietary fund na kar do share capital 6 lakh cha. Kahan la shamba kar do reserves and surplus 1 lakh 50 divided by total of asset is 10 lakh. So 6 7 lakh 50 divided by 10 lakh. Well, 75 divided by 100. So 7.5 inquired which anyway let's do it on the calculator. 75 divided by 100 here. 0.75 is to 1. So the proprietors ratio. As simple as that. This go to now. Mean korana the proprietary ratio le symbol. Chinta din zo chi ratio le symbol chi koro nyam dola. Compare chi chi koro a tin nanglo ni dikhazure sha le to. Chik nanglo ne dikhazure sha le to. Dila pawe dikhazure sha. So proprietors ratio done.